so much for joining us once again right here on Zero to Free. My name is Mokoena, your host as usual. And you know, we've got a really exciting episode that is here today, and we've got some great guests that we have in studio, and we're just going to get into that in a little bit. So let me just tell you exactly what the topic for today is. So like you know, freelancers actually rely on very inconsistent workflow as well as income when it comes to gigs as well as clients. So we want to learn how to mitigate the risks of being a freelancer, how to get your business off the ground, and just how to get through the difficult times and have a success in that when you just don't know what to do in those difficult times. And our guests today are going to help us with that. And we have got our very first guest, who is Yanga Mazwai, and he is the founder of Altru-Visuals, which is a production company that specializes in photography and videography. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you. Hi.
Yes. And also we've got Buhle Zwane, and she is a producer. Thank you so much for coming through, in fact.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I just want to, like I always do with all our guests in studio, is that I just want you just to elaborate a little bit more on what you do. We'll start with you, Yanga.
So like you'd mentioned, it's quite a simple production company. We do videography and photography, and all the realms, from the birthday to the product to the event to the wedding, then sort of all the realms.
Yeah.
Videography is a similar thing, but we found actually that we've been coming into the podcast production space, yes. where we are now supporting people making their content as opposed to being the only people making the content. So yeah.
I love that. Buhle, tell us more about what you do as a producer.
So I'm in production, film, TV, music video, ad space, live broadcasts, you name it.
So everything when it comes to production.
Audio visuals, I'm your gal.
Oh, nice. I like that. So now let's just get into the topic for the day. I mean, we're talking about having, a mitigate plan to actually help you out in very difficult times. And so that's basically what the topic is. So then when it comes to that, right, how do you then balance the times when clients aren't coming through the door consistently as you would like? And how do you then manage that cash flow during that time?
I'll speak, I'm not so much of a finance person, but I'll speak from the experience.
Please.
Is that when you do one job is not just one job. One job is sort of, you need to invoice that or think about that in the context of what you've just said.
Yeah.
Is that it needs to also sustain you or sustain this business a little bit afterwards. There is an element of you paying for you sort of pay a little bit for the future. You buy a little bit of time with each invoice that you do. And that just comes down to careful planning, depending on what your own budget is, what your money planning is, and you can find that way. And then the second thing I'd like to say is freelancing, it goes hand in hand with, with adapting. You may not always be just a photographer or just a videographer. You may find a niche or a gap, and freelancing or mitigating your risk, it involves you thinking more outside the box. So not capping yourself to say, look, I do videos on this, but I can also edit. I can also do audio of this. I can also do that.
Okay. All right, Buhle.
So piggybacking off what Yanga said, my expertise is basically in production. Yeah. And with regards to adapting, right, as he just mentioned right now, things like I can first AD, I can second AD, I can third AD, I can floor manage for a live show. I can basically, you can't rely on necessarily you can't be like a one-trick pony. Yeah. So just be able to evolve would basically help. And I can't even say there's like one way for you to create a certain plan, because that plan can only probably work for one production.
Yeah, true.
The next, you don't know how long the one is.
So you must be versatile, basically.
Basically.
Nice. So then when it comes to pivoting your plans, right? So when you have like a freelancing gig, you have a project, and how do you then pivot when it's not taking off as you were expecting it to? So how do you go about that? Like you had one plan, you're like, this is how it's going to go, this is how much I'm going to get, and then I'm out. But then it's just not going the way you want it to go.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
Cry.
First of all,
that's
cry.
the first thing I need to do is cry, get the emotions out.
Yeah.
Then be like, okay, cool, come up with some form of a plan to work with. So even right now, I had something like that.
Shucks.
Where you have a plan, you're like, okay, this is going to be done in the next 6 months.
Yes.
Then I should be in this place after that 6 months. That 6 months has passed now, and I'm not in that place. However, it's literally just dumbing down the lifestyle in totality. Unfortunately, as much as young people also like to, live for the life and the party, but you just need to be responsible, as our parents used to say.
Now it's all coming.
It's
actually coming into play.
She's right.
Yeah. And yourself, Yanga?
Yeah, I agree. The first point that Buhle made actually is a very important point.
Yes.
As you have to feel it out. So whatever reaction you need to feel it, because your reaction will dictate how the rest of that job will go. Let's say it is a monetary thing. You thought, again, 6 month period you'd make X amount, but you're only going to end up making half of that. When that realization hits, do the punch the wall, have that tier, but then remember that, okay, I have 3 months worth of pay. That's what I do have. And that perspective shift can help you then find those niche things that we were talking about. Say, okay, I'm not going to make the full 6K, because I'll make 3K, but then what I can do is offer this and this, so that in 8 months' time, maybe when the client's more ready, I'm the guy they come to. So, yeah, you need to feel it out, and then change your perspective, adjust it a little bit. It's dumbing down. It is that, but it's just shifting the perspective. So, okay, I still do have this, and I can still do this with this.
I like that. I really, really like that, because a lot of times we just run with the emotion and we don't deal with the emotion, and then you start making stupid decisions, which is not great. So then, have you ever had to put your business or your freelancing on pause to make sure that you're still earning elsewhere, and then once that is done, you're like, okay, let me come back?
Not necessarily to go and earn elsewhere. Fortunately, the work hustle balance, if we'll call it that, has been such that I haven't had to put it on pause. But in terms of time management, if that's what we're getting at in this question, is it might be even more difficult to insist on not quitting either thing, in order for you to carry on with your business. So have I stopped it? No, I have not paused it. Purely just from that, all of those motivational thoughts, you don't give up on your dream, kind of thing. And so far, it's paid dividends. It's again just maybe I've shifted my expectations. I've said, okay, maybe I'm not going to be shooting at Moe Day this year. I'm not going to be shooting a Porsche commercial, whatever it is. When I shift that, then maybe in that sense I pause.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm always willing to pick up the camera.
All the time. Never a down day for your camera.
No.
And yourself, Buhle?
For me, I wouldn't say pause. I don't think it can ever pause, because there's always work. Whether I'm creating it or someone is asking me to help them create it. Okay. So the pause for me would probably say I'm probably handling a specific project that is super demanding. Then I'm not available for your project. Okay. But I don't think I can ever pause it. Because we need the rent.
Always. All right. I like that, because I think where the question was coming from was just basically that if your business is not making money at all, you don't have any clients, there's no one coming in, or you've had all your proposals in and no one is coming in with that approval, and then you find yourself, you're like, okay, maybe if I just went and done something else to earn that money so I can pay my bills for the end of the month.
Okay, no, I in that sense, yes. I have paused, but sort of it's not up to me to pause it. In the example you made, if people are just not picking work up, then yes, you must move on in a way. But let's say this in a short example. If I hand you a proposal, I say, okay, January 1st, here's my proposal. By February 1st, you haven't responded. And then I'll write it off. I'll say, okay, fine, maybe they're not responding. I go and get another job March 1st. if in April 1st you're like, hey Yanga, I've got my things together to do this proposal thing, I'm ready to do this project. Yes. It's not so much to say that, oh, it's done, but to say, okay, can I switch back? Is it possible? Is it worth switching back? Maybe do both kind of thing. So yeah, it'll always be ready. Yeah, I think I'll stop there.
Okay. All right. So that's the first segment. We're just going to go to a quick ad break, and then we will be back with more.
This podcast is created and sponsored by Moya, a startup that provides a smart money manager that helps freelancers make sense of their numbers and reach their financial goals by providing a mobile app which assists freelancers manage their cash flow, invoices, and tax all in one place. Firstly, a big shout out to everyone who attended our Coffee and Convos networking event this past Saturday. Hope you had fun, and we hope to see you again soon. Secondly, we will be announcing soon when the Moya app goes live, so do watch out for further communication. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe to our Moya Mondays weekly newsletter for weekly tips and news about the world of freelancing. This podcast is brought to you by Moya, your guide to successful freelancing.
All right, welcome back from the ad break. Just like as you've heard in the ad, we are sponsored by Moya, and we'd just like to thank our sponsor, Moya, for sponsoring this very podcast. Do remember that we do have some great initiatives and campaigns, and we've got a free workshop in partnership with a business school lecturer that's going to help you with growth and cash flow management in your business and freelancing services. So make sure that you head on over to the description box so that you can get all the details on that. And on top of that, we've got some free coffee and co-working space at Seam Coffee in 4 Ways, and that is till the end of May. So do check that out in the description box as well. We are back with our guests, Yanga and Buhle, and we're going to chat a little bit more about those difficult times that you do face as a freelancer. All right, so we are back on this, and I just wanted to find out, right? So how do you grow? So you have a difficult time, you're really experiencing like some hectic times, some clients are coming in and all of that. How do you grow from those difficult periods and then make a success from them? Anybody.
So, coming from experience, speaking from experience rather, I did something really big in December time, and I recently just got back onto the bandwagon of getting work coming in. Yeah. So I had like a good solid 3 to 4 months of like no work. I know it sounds so simple, but you just have to sit it out for that time being. And if anything, anything that you get in, anything that comes in and goes out, you really need to sit and crunch down those numbers to be like, do I really need this? Do I really need that?
Yeah.
Then you're like, okay, cool. I don't think today I'm going to have McDonald's. I'd rather go and buy a pack of potatoes. That way I can have potatoes for the whole month.
Yes. As
opposed to that one Big Mac that you just want to go get that's going to satisfy the need for now. As much as you really want it and you crave it.
True story.
But you cannot have it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. It's one of those. And it's like sucks because then you're like, oh my gosh, but I'm so used to... the freelance industry is so weird because you're used to like lump sums. Which is also a learning curve for some people where, hey, I'm going to give you 20K.
Yeah.
You seeing 20K like, oh my gosh, 20K.
I'm rich.
Not necessarily thinking, okay, in February, March, that 20K needs to last me at least a good 3 months.
Yeah.
But that's also, it comes with experience. You need to blow that 20K first before.
Just so that you can just get out of the system. Yeah. Yeah, please.
Honesty is the best policy. I love that. Like I always say, if I got R1 million, I would call my mom and tell her, Mom, I just got 800,000. What should I do with it? The 200K, we're not going to talk about it. This is going to disappear.
No.
But yes, Buhle is absolutely right. In terms of rescaling, remanaging. I have an interesting observation because now I think in our business at Altru, we're also now coming into there's business coming in where there was a drought. And I don't know, there's the universe responds to energy. So gratitude and optimism, those thoughts are rewarded. When you do get that first client back and you're on set for the first time after 3 months, the sort of humility and gratitude that you do that work with in some inexplicable way has an effect on the future and the growth of your work. So that positive attitude or that humility is also something that clients like to see. They like to see that somebody is always present, is not down by the times. They don't arrive as shabby as the times represent. When they get there and they find an energetic person and they find an optimistic person and a grateful person, it makes it easier for them to call you again. And then I think that's where the freelance, that's where one of the the keys is try have repeating clients, a repetitive sort of thing. People only get married once, right? So you're not gonna like, hey, we're gonna keep doing weddings, you and I. But if somebody's like, hey, I have a podcast, then try get into that space because they'll need one every month, at least every month, every week. And so that repetition, that energy that I was talking about, that gratitude, it helps say, look, I'm gonna call you again.
Yeah.
And that's where the growth comes in. It's like don't be weighed down by those times. But capitalize on where you are right now. And in the midst of that time, that money management, that 20,000 that we're saying is that, in reality, that 20,000 is not just for the camera and the pictures.
True.
Do you know what I mean? It's also for sustainability. And that's where, in some places, freelancers, and particularly myself, get really shy and is quoting. It's very difficult to look somebody in the eye and say, I want 20,000 rand from you.
Yeah.
It's difficult, but you have to. And I think that's a lesson that, I'm still learning, people need to learn is that, and then that makes your work, it makes it all easier. Then you can plan, you can plan for those 3 months where there's no work. You can plan for these mistakes, your camera breaks, okay, you've got a bit of a budget.
Yeah.
But you need to have, for lack of a better term, you need to have the kahunas to ask for it.
Yeah.
And trust that I am worth what I'm asking for.
And that's a tough one, actually. That's a very tough one, having to say, I want 20K. Because it's like you're thinking 20K is a lot, and they might not pay it, but they might have the budget for it, and they're just waiting for you to ask. They won't tell you, of course. They're not going to tell you. And if you say 5K, they'll take it. And you're out here producing 20K work.
That's it. 20,000 rand, they're like, I would have given this guy 30.
Right? But 5K.
We move.
Right? And I like the fact that you said that you need to have like some form of money save up for like when your camera breaks down or whatever. So that is actually in fact my next question. So how do you save or have like a buffer or like an emergency fund for your business and for yourself during periods such as these, like where you really are having like a dry season, you're in the wilderness, it's a desert.
With regards to me, right, once tax is taken away and the money comes, usually you're told, okay, save half and spend half. Save 70.
Okay.
And then eat whatever the rest is there.
Yeah.
And why do I say that? I'm a huge advocate for like spending your hard-earned money. Like, you work for that money. You better spend it so that you know how it feels.
Yes.
When it comes out. Because you only know when it comes out of your pocket what it feels like. Then that way you leave in the lessons and everything that you plan to put in place, so to be like, hey, okay, I have like $100, so 20 already is gone with my tax. Now I'm gonna say, okay, let's say I want 60 to be saved, because I'm also thinking in that 60 it's not just 60 just being saved. It's counting whenever I have a rainy day, whenever I need like a serious emergency. And I guess as a freelancer, you're thinking more so like, okay, cool, I need transport money, I need gas money. If not gas money, okay, cool. Some jobs, they give you the stipend to travel, some they don't. So you also factoring into that, hence why it's over the 50%. As opposed to saying, let me just spend half and eat
into the other half.
And I mean, if you have a business as well, I'd rather the money then reinvest it into the company. Because then what's the purpose
of a business? Because it must grow.
It needs to function.
Yanga?
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to pick up on the functioning thing. I am incredibly bad at saving, so I leave that to my partner. She'll let me know that I want to take X%, and I'll be
at least you have a partner.
I believe you. You can take that X%. It's absolutely fine. That's just staying in my lane in a sense. But I will speak on the reinvesting part, because that's something that I think I like to do. And we'll reach back a little bit in the earlier conversation about diversifying your offering.
Yes.
Is that with that, we'll say now and I'll actually use a real life example with our business. We said, okay, we have equipment. And we have stuff, and when we can, we sort of always try to upgrade new lights, new microphone, new camera lens, as it goes. But in the times that we are not having shoots, or my clients are not answering my calls, her clients may be. And so, what if we started to rent out our equipment? Since sitting here in my living room doing absolutely nothing. Exactly. What if I rent? I say to okay, Buhle, if ever you need a shoot, I know maybe you're busier than I am, or whatever it is, you can rent out my camera, and that is some kind of flow. And that's for me, going on the reinvesting thing, that would be the purpose of reinvesting, is I will buy another camera knowing that I'm going to rent that camera out so that it can. That's where the saving comes in diversifying the streams of incomes. Sort of, I'm piggybacking off of other people's freelancing. Yeah. You can freelance all you like. I just know I get a small piece, just in case.
Kind of helping them out.
Yeah, so kind of thing. Yeah.
It works for me because then I don't have to worry about I know it's Yanga. The only thing that's gonna stress me out is just insurance. But
which, by the way, it's not as expensive as you think. But yeah, we'll do another day. Yeah.
But there's nuances to this thing. Yeah. Especially like with the freelance game, no man's an island. And like you just said, if I'm not working on something, I know, okay, cool, there's someone that's looking for his expertise out there. And I just simple, hey, do you know Yanga? He's amazing. Hype him up. Boom, bam, done.
I like that.
Yeah.
I really do. Because, I think, especially with the diversifying and now having to save all that money, you can actually, while you're diversifying, that other money can actually...
It can work.
You can actually do your bills. Yeah. And then this other money is now growing the business. Mm-hmm. So very last question I know, it's short. It's over. But it's okay. So what are the lessons? What are the hard lessons, in fact, that you've learned from these experiences where you really... went through a very tough time that you would want to share with your previous self or any of the listeners today? Those tough ones where you just Yazin. Had I known. Go through the archives, girl.
Okay, while you search the archives there, I think it's the one word Buhle and I was speaking about earlier, and that is don't take it personally. It's not about you. When the client is not answering, when they don't want to pay 20,000, they want to pay 15. When they call you but then they don't answer the phone on the day. When all of that stuff happens, it's not about you, because as a freelancer, you are your business. It's very easy to take things personally. Yeah. It's very easy to become angry at people, and you become angry at the next client or whatever it is. So I think understanding that everybody has their own agenda, they have their own plan, and they have their own goal. We try our best to match our goals, but at some point, sometimes it just can't happen. Yeah. But don't beat yourself up
for that.
Yes, you may not have gotten that back, but that's not your fault. You're not incompetent. You are not whatever it is. I think that biggest lesson is tough, but yeah, it's not about you.
Woof. That's a tough one to hear, especially in the instant gratification generation.
Absolutely, yeah. It's very difficult because freelancing, you do that. You say, hey, dude, this is $8,000, and then he pays you the $8,000. And now I have $8,000.
Yeah.
But then when that doesn't happen, what does it say about you? I'm not
talented enough.
Or if that person, I'm never gonna do that again.
I'll never call them again.
You never call them again. All of that stuff. It takes a lot of energy, and as freelancing, you already need as much energy as you can to work. The last thing you need to do is be stressing about that one guy who didn't pay because his wife's whatever.
Yeah.
Piggybacking off that, so many stories, but I remember so many stories. But anyway, there was a moment in time where I did a very big job for someone. The contracts were signed. So, when the contract's signed, you're like, okay, it's legally binding.
Yeah. It's done deal.
It's done. I'm ready. I know that this is coming to my account.
Yes.
And then not even a single word disappears. That time, remember, and I think this is, I don't know if I do it alone, but like whenever someone tells me they're gonna pay me a certain amount, I've already made plans for the month.
Yeah.
Immediately. So now when the money doesn't come in, I'm just like, now what the hell was I thinking? Because now the money's not coming in, then how do I, then it's a matter of now, funny if we were speaking about this earlier, managing your expectations.
Oof.
So understand that there's always two ways. It can go up, it can go down. Those are your two options. If it goes up, fantastic. And if it goes down, you have no control of that. Even though you are a contributing factor,
yeah,
but you have no control. Even when it goes up,
you have no control. Either way.
Yeah.
Shucks.
That's so crazy. You remind me of that. I don't know if it's a Bible verse or some Chinese proverb.
Come on, speak the word of God.
Where he says, this guy has a son, right? His son, he's a farmer, I think, and his son on first day gets drafted to the army. And then people are like, oh no, it must be so terrible that your son is going. And he's like, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Maybe a few weeks later, the son breaks his leg, and now he doesn't go to war, he can stay home. They're like, oh, he must be so relieved, he can stay home now. You're like, no, maybe it's good, maybe it's good, maybe it isn't. And it goes on a little bit in that sense where what Buhle is saying is when something happens, don't get too caught up in whatever direction it goes. If it's a high, don't get too caught up in the high, but if it's a low, don't get too caught up in the low at the same time. So yeah, what you said made me think of that.
And a huge one is whenever you're low, or what I usually, like a line that I always tell myself when I'm in the pits, is that there's only one direction to go, and that is up.
That is up, that is up.
That is up.
Way up.
That is the same that saves my life every time I'm in the gutters.
Love it.
And when I'm up, I don't want to think about going down, but essentially it is a reality.
It is, yeah.
But I cherish the moment, and I seize carpe diem. You're in a high, yes, it may not last forever, but ride the wave, girl. Ride it. And then when you're down,
so we're going to close it on that. Manage your expectations, and it is not about you. Don't take it personally, any of it. So that's where we're going to close it off. It's Mokoena Malota. Thank you so much for joining us right here on 0 to Free.
0 to